Hi everyone, welcome back. I am Alina, those of you who don't know me yet, and I've just graduated from the University of Aberdeen with a degree in pharmacology. So yeah, it's a 4-year course, and what I would have liked to have at the start of my degree would have been like an overview of roughly what to expect. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to film this video, talk you through the 4 years of doing an undergraduate degree in medical sciences and pharmacology specifically here at the university. So hopefully you will find this useful. There are a lot of different courses that are the same for all sort of medical science degrees, so especially in first and second year, so feel free to just stay on for those parts of the video. I will also put like a time overview in the description box under the video so that you can jump to different sections in the video if you're not interested in all of the different parts. But anyway, this might be a long video, so quit the rambling and I'll just get started. Every year you have to take a total of 120 credits, which is normally distributed across the 2 half sessions. So you do 60 in the first half session, which is between September and Christmas, and then after Christmas until May, that's the second half session. So you do 60 credits in one, 60 credits in the other. And those are normally made up by 4 15 credit courses, 2 30 credit courses, or a mix of both, like 1 30 credit and 2 15 credit courses. The way your degree is then calculated, at least at the University of Aberdeen in medical sciences at the moment, because it tends to change, but it has only just changed. For my year, we were the first to have this new system, so it might stay for a wee while now. But basically, first and second year do not count towards your overall degree classification, and then third year counts 30%, and fourth year counts 70% towards your overall classification. Now, that doesn't mean that in first and second year I think you should do nothing, because it's actually, there's quite a step up between second and third year in terms of workload, in terms of expectations. So if you kind of do nothing in first and second year because it's like, it doesn't count anyway, then I think you'll find it'll be really difficult in third year. So if you try hard first and second year, the step up to third and fourth year isn't quite as bad. So that's a brief overview of credits and everything. Now I will talk you through all of the courses that you do throughout this 4-year degree program. So let's start with first year. So in first year I had 2 compulsory courses in each half session that were 15 credits each, and then I was able to choose a different 2 other 15 credit courses in each term as well. Now some people, I think if you're doing the normal just pharmacology course, you'll also have like another sports science course that's compulsory as well in the first or the second half term, but I will leave a document in the description box below where you can see all the different prescribed courses depending on what medical science degree you are studying here. But yeah, so I had 2 compulsory courses in the first half, 2 in the second. In the first half term, the first major course is SM 1001 Introduction to Medical Sciences, which is probably one of the best courses I've done at university. So that course sort of starts off with a bit of history of medical sciences, which you might think sounds a bit boring, but it's actually super interesting. And then you get taught about all kind of different things in medical sciences. It's very introductory, but for me, everything in that course was new. I hadn't heard of these things before at school, and it was just a great introduction to medical sciences, to the key teaching staff, we had a couple of practical sessions which were really fun, and yeah, that was definitely one of my favourite courses I've done at university. The other course is Chemistry for the Life Sciences 1, and that is an introductory chemistry course. It's very basic. If you've done a lot of chemistry at school, you'll be absolutely fine. It has a lot of lab sessions as well, which is good, and yeah, that's the other sort of compulsory course you have to do. Now both Introduction to Medical Sciences and Chemistry for the Life Sciences 1 have an exam at the end of the term, and all exams in first and second year tend to be multiple choice questions. I think in first year they're mainly single best answer, so there's only one correct answer, and then in second year it gets a bit more difficult. Sometimes you need to, multiple answers are correct and you need to get all of them right to get a point. So yeah, it's all multiple choice questions, 2-hour exams to answer 100 questions. So the other 30 credits for my first half session at first year, I was able to choose anything I wanted to. So I chose a course in artificial intelligence, like a computing science course, which, well, I was interested after school in robotics and computing and everything, so I thought I'd do that. It was an okay course, but it wasn't fantastic. The teaching staff is nowhere near as good as for medical sciences, and it was just a bit meh. And then the other course I did was a 6th century course. So 6th century courses are a bit unique. Basically what they are, there's a large variety of them. They're open to everyone, essentially, any degree, and they're the sort of courses that I think are meant to, broaden your horizon a little bit. So they kind of maybe discuss topics that you wouldn't normally discuss if you were studying a different sort of degree. The reason why many people choose a 6th century course is because there's no exam at the end. It's all based on continuous assessment. It's a lot of group work, and often there's like field trips and stuff. But what no one tells you, unfortunately, before you start is that Wednesdays at the University of Aberdeen, at least, is sort of deemed sports day, and most people have the day off. Like 6th century courses seem to be one of the few courses, especially in first and second year, that run on a Wednesday. And that's kind of annoying if you're wanting to do a sport, because many of the sports clubs train on Wednesdays. I remember I used to always miss the first wee bit of my badminton training that I had on Wednesdays, which was always really annoying because I had these 6th century courses. And I think if you're also playing for a team and you're travelling to other cities in Scotland for matches, that happens on a Wednesday, and so you can't really do the 6th century courses and the sports thing at the same time. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying and makes these courses, you have to decide if you want to do it or not. But yeah, I did this course called Oceans and Society, which I thought I would broaden my horizon. Turns out boats and like seabirds aren't really my thing. So it was, what was annoying was that there's a different 6th century course in medical sciences called the Mind Machine, and I knew a lot of people that had done that course and they really seemed to like it. So then I regretted even more doing this Oceans and Societies course. So yeah, if I could do it all again, I would choose the 6th century course that is called the Mind Machine. So yeah, in the second half session, I again had 2 compulsory courses. One was Chemistry for the Life Sciences 2, believe it or not. That was then again more organic chemistry, a bit more like reaction mechanisms and stuff. But again, it's very basic, and it will depend on how much you've done at school, how difficult you find it. So I did advanced higher chemistry, so I had done more than what we did at university already at school, so I found it very easy. But I know a lot of other people who maybe dropped chemistry earlier on at school did maybe have to do a little bit more for that course. The second compulsory course is called The Cell, which again surprisingly is all about cell biology, and there, interestingly, I felt like I had more to learn because I had not done a lot of human biology at school, so for me a lot of it was new, whereas for other people who had done more human biology beforehand didn't find it as difficult, or not difficult, but maybe not as many new things to learn. And that really is what first year especially is all about. It's bringing everyone up to speed, levelling the playing field a wee bit, just making sure that everyone is sort of at the same level in the basic chemistry and biology and whatever, before going into second year. And then the other 30 credits that I had free to choose, I then did another 6th century course, which then after learning from my mistake in first half session, I did the one that was more for medical sciences, and it was called Science and the Media, and that was all about, the scientific method, scientific rigour, sort of scandals in the media that had been caused by wrong fake news on science, that kind of thing. So that was a really interesting course. And then the other course I did was called Maths for Sciences or something like that, which was I don't understand what that course was. We literally started with 4 + 4 = 8. That was the level of maths, and I was like, what? So I don't really know. I don't think that course was overly useful, to be honest. Would not recommend. No one went to those lectures. So yeah, I think if I could do it all again, like I said, I would be wiser with my 6th century course choice, and I would have probably maybe chosen to do another language in first and second semester because I really like languages. I speak a lot of languages, so I think I would have preferred to maybe do that. But yeah, hindsight is a great thing. And then the final thing I did in first year was a course called Biobusiness. So I mentioned this in my other video on just generally studying medical sciences at the University of Aberdeen, but they do offer courses in biobusiness as well. They're all extra credit and require you to take a course in first, third and fourth year. So in first year it's a 10 credit course. It's once a week, one lecture once a week, and it's all continuous assessment based. So you have a few essays to write and a group presentation to do, and that's all about essentially how to make money in science, learning about big pharma, learning about the biotechnology industry, that kind of thing. So yeah, that was the end of first year. First year was very, very kind of easy, but it was good because it meant that I had loads of time to do other things. I was joining societies, playing sports, meeting new people, making friends, going places. So I think that's what first year is mainly about when you're doing this 4-year undergraduate degree. Let's move on to second year. So second year is kind of where you get what I was explaining in my previous video, the broad medical sciences overview teaching sort of thing, that really helps you A, gain a broad understanding of medical sciences, and B, sort of choose which area you like the most and which area you definitely want to focus on going into third year. So a lot of the courses in second year, it's kind of like part 1 in the first half term, part 2 in the second half session. So I'm just going to talk about the whole year as a one-up. So the first sort of pair of courses that you do is in physiology. So in the first half term, the course is called Physiology of Human Cells, and in the second half term, the course is called Physiology of Human Organ Systems. So as it says on the tin, in the first course it's all about cell physiology, the second course is all about human physiology. Now that course I really loved. It was really interesting. You have a lot of laboratory sort of practical work as well. I remember we had really good problem solving questions, as they called them. So it's almost like a tutorial. So we were given different questions, different scenarios, and you kind of had to use the knowledge from lectures to answer them, and there was always teaching staff around that would help you if you were stuck on things, and I thought those were always really helpful. There's also a mid-term multiple choice question exams for both of those courses in each term, and then at the end of the year there's your classic 100 question multiple choice exam that you have to do in 2 hours. Then in the first half session you do another course that's called Molecular Biology of the Gene. So that's all about genetics, a lot of genetic disease, that kind of thing. Not my favourite course just because it's not my favourite thing to do, but yeah, that was also very heavy on the continuous assessment. I remember we always had to do like online multiple choice questions throughout the term, and at the end the 100 multiple choice question exam. In second half term, that not so much as a counterpart, that course is called Energy for Life. So that course is like a biochemistry sort of course, a lot about metabolism, metabolic pathways, enzymes, that kind of thing. I really liked that course. It had great staff, great practical work. We did like a whole sort of drug discovery scenario thing over the week. So one week we'd maybe identify from a group of compounds which one was best for what we wanted to do, and then the next week we'd investigate that compound further, and so on and so forth, and then we'd write a lab report at the end. And also Energy for Life did not actually have an exam at the end of the year. Instead, we had 4 sort of mini exams every couple of weeks that just covered the chunk of courses that we had done in that time period. And so instead of having 100 questions at the end of the year, we had 25 questions every couple of weeks. Then the other pair of courses is like foundation skills in medical sciences. So the first one I think is called Foundation Skills in Medical Sciences, and the second half session one is called Research Skills for Medical Sciences. So in the first half session, that is all about maybe learning how to do some calculations, very basic calculations, for example, like how many micromolar are in 50 millimolar, like that, for example. You have to do data analysis, get some graphs, data interpretation, that kind of thing. We get a tiny little bit of statistics teaching, but not really, and that is something that I feel maybe the medical sciences degrees at the university are lacking slightly, some proper knowledge in statistics. So there's been a lot of feedback about that over the last couple of years, so maybe that will be integrated into the curriculum more in the next couple of years. Yeah, that's a small thing. I mean, obviously statistics can be hard, it can be difficult, a bit dry, but I think it would be a good skill to have that I feel like I don't have after graduating. Anyway, and then in the second half term, your research skills for medical sciences, that is basically just group work for the entire term. You're put in a group and then you do research on a topic of interest. I think my group, we did can vitamin D supplements prevent cardiovascular disease? And yeah, so we developed a presentation for that and gave that presentation, and that's basically the bulk part of that course. And then finally, what I did is courses called Human Anatomy A and Human Anatomy B in the second half session, and those courses are unique for the Biomedical Sciences degrees. So I spoke about that briefly in my other video, but those courses are truly amazing. They're only for students on the Biomedical Sciences courses, and they're unique because we get to work and learn using human cadaveric specimens. So those courses are really, really fun. Basically, we get like a workbook like this, and every week we have like different questions to answer. So here was, what's this? Muscles of the leg. And so before you go in, you answer the questions in your workbook. You go through as much as you can, and then you go in to the lab, the anatomy lab. We have labs twice a week, so we go in, there's 2-hour sessions roughly, and sometimes there's a quick talk / mini lecture at the start, and then we just go in and all the specimens for that class have been laid out, and we can go from one station to the next, and mostly, well, we can kind of double check maybe our answers, and some questions are based on the models in front of us, so we only answer those questions once we get in the lab. But mainly those 2 hours are for us to be able to engage with the specimen, pick up the specimens. So with the muscles of the leg, for example, we'd have maybe a specimen of the leg, and we'd be able to look at all the muscles, look at the blood vessels, look at the nerves, and really interact with the specimen and really learn from that. And those courses were undoubtedly one of my favourite courses of my degree, and not only helpful for other second year courses, for example the physiology of human organ systems, because we'd done human organ systems kind of in anatomy the previous term, in the second term, that was really helpful for the physiology course. I'd have already done a lot of it, and it was also really helpful for third year and also fourth year. So yeah, and as if that wasn't enough, I chose to torture myself and add an additional 8 hours a week to my timetable by doing an extra credit course in organic chemistry that half session. But I absolutely love organic chemistry. It was still a bit of a repetition from school because I did a lot of chemistry at school, but it was all based on reaction mechanisms and those things that I kind of like, and it had 6 hours of labs a week, so that was fantastic lab experience that I got out of that course as well. So yeah, that was second year. So moving on to third year, where I finally got to do some pharmacology. So by third year you will have decided on what degree you want to do at the very latest. There's more information about how you change degrees and everything in my other video, so make sure you check that out. But yes, in third year you finally get some degree specific courses. So in third year I did 2 30-credit courses, one in pharmacology and one more general medical science, but kind of pharmacology focused course. So the pharmacology one is called PE 3004, Biochemical Pharmacology and Toxicology, and that was probably another one of my favourite courses here at university. It starts off with an introduction to pharmacology and pharmacokinetics, calculations and stuff, drug metabolism, and then you move on to more organ-based pharmacology, where again, having done the courses in second year, especially the anatomy course, really helped in third year. There is a lot of practical work also for that course, and you do a few post-lab assessments, and then at the end of the year you have an exam, which finally is no longer a multiple choice exam, but you move on to essay exams in third year. So at the end of the PA 3004 course, you have an exam that consists of a pharmacokinetics part, so where you have to do some calculations, draw some graphs, that kind of thing, and then the second part where you have to write 2 essays. Then the other course in third year is called SM 3002, Frontiers in Biomedical Sciences, and like I said, that is a course that multiple degree disciplines do, so pharmacologists, physiologists, neuroscience, I think those kind of degrees have to do this course. There's big blocks in those courses on axonal conductance, synaptic transmission, epithelial transport. There's some pharmacology things about receptors and intracellular signaling. And in third year, but the differences between second year is that you no longer just learn the principles, but you actually go through the research that has led to that knowledge. So that's kind of where the main difference lies between second and third year. The Frontiers in Biomedical Sciences has a really cool laboratory sort of series associated with it, with a lab report at the end, and then the final exam is a 3-hour exam in which you have to answer 4 out of 6 essay questions. So yeah, I really enjoyed those 2 courses. The first half session of third year was probably one of my favourite terms overall, and yeah, little did I know that that was my last proper uninterrupted term with real exams at the end, because then from my second half session in third year onwards, my degree was really impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So in the second semester I was back to 4 courses with 15 credits each. In the first semester each of those courses had 30 credits, and it was structured in a way that I had 2 courses for 8 weeks and then the other 2 courses for the second 8 weeks of that term to make up 60 credits in total. So the first 2 courses was cardiovascular physiology and pharmacology and neurophysiology and pharmacology. So they just dealt with the cardiovascular system and then how it can be manipulated pharmacologically. So we're talking about maybe heart medication, like for blood pressure, stroke, atherosclerosis, and that kind of thing. And then the neuro one was the same sort of thing, a lot about the brain structures, brain signalling, and then talking about diseases such as how to treat maybe epilepsy or schizophrenia, these kind of things. And then in the second term, or the second half of that term, we had a course called Neuroscience Research Topics, I think, which was similar to the first neuroscience course, but then talked about newer sort of things like spinal cord regeneration therapies, or how to treat Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, Huntington's disease. And then the other more pharmacology-based course was called, it had a really weird name, Mechanisms of Disease and Principles of Chemotherapy. So yeah, that course was all about cancer, mainly at the start, which what I found was a shame is that cancer is such a complex and interesting sort of disease. I've done a lot of my other research, my honours project and also a summer project in cancer, and I felt like we didn't do the really interesting stuff in that course. Like, it very much just scratched the surface, and I thought it was actually a bit disappointing in hindsight. So yeah, I think that could have been better. And then the course then also covers drugs such as like antibiotics, antivirals, immunosuppressants, that kind of thing. But the very end of that course, I only sort of experienced pre-recorded lectures from the year before because of the pandemic, and we sort of went from having uni one week to being in total lockdown the next. So after that semester then being cut short due to the pandemic, it also meant that our exams could no longer be done in person. So normally we would have 90-minute exams for each of those 15 credit courses, in which we had to answer 2 essays, but instead then they were online last year, and so I had 12 hours to answer 2 essays. I think I also filmed a video on my final third year exam last year, so make sure to go and check that out if you're interested. And then the final kind of thing I did in third year was this extra credit biobusiness course again, which again is all extra credits and all based on continuous assessment. I had to write a few essays, and then the group project was also cancelled due to the pandemic, so I then had to do another individual sort of assessment for that. And that concludes third year. Now we finally get to fourth year, or final year, honours year, whatever you want to call it. And basically the way that is structured is that the first term is taught, the second term you do your honours project in, and then at the very end you sit your final exams. So in the first half session I did 3 courses, one 30 credit course and 2 15 credit courses. The 30 credit course is again like the one beforehand, more for multiple medical sciences degrees. It's called Advanced Molecules, Membranes and Cells, and that course sort of covers a bit of everything, some genetics, genetic manipulation, neurological imaging, what else was there? I've already forgotten, and I only sat the exam like a month ago. Anyway, I didn't particularly enjoy that course because it was all over the place. It didn't have a lot of pharmacology. I didn't really understand why this was like the core course. I think it was also just difficult because of the pandemic, because we were writing lab reports about labs we'd never actually done. So it was okay, but you had to do it, you know. But then I had 2 15 credit pharmacology courses, which I really liked. So like in third year, that happened that the first course was in the first couple of weeks of the term, the second course took up the last couple of weeks of the term. The first one is called molecular pharmacology, so that's a lot about receptors. We talked a lot about intracellular signaling, how addiction and tolerance, those kind of things things happen. So yeah, I absolutely love that course. That is really right up my street. And then the second course is called Current Research Topics in Pharmacology, and that then covers a lot of more modern things. So we actually had a few researchers from the university also come in and talk about the work they are doing at the moment, and that focused a lot on cancer. Also, what else did we do? Reproductive pharmacology, a lot of like contraception, maybe talking about how male contraception could maybe be a thing, how the endocannabinoid system works and how you could use cannabis or cannabis-derived drugs to treat human disease. So yeah, all that kind of thing. I really loved that course, and they both had a lot of interesting continuous assessment. So the first course, Molecular Pharmacology, had actually a laboratory-based assessment. The one time I got to go into university was for this, and it's called an Objective Structured Practical Examination, so OSPE for short. And basically you had multiple stations that you went round, and you had 10 minutes at each station to complete whatever the task was. So that could either be lab skill based, so you maybe had to perform a serial dilution or make up a solution that had a specific concentration, or they were maybe more theoretical and you had to match drugs with their mechanism of action, or you had to do a calculation or interpret some data, that kind of thing. So that was the sort of lab assessment for that course. And then for the other course, we also did some really cool things. We wrote things how to engage the public with pharmacology. We did our own sort of drug design, drug development project. So yeah, I really liked those two courses. The exams for those courses, however, they weren't before Christmas as they normally are, but they were actually at the very end of the year in May. Then after Christmas, everyone starts their honours project course, which makes up 60 credits, so the entire second half session. There's always a lot of different projects to choose from. They can either be laboratory based or library based. And obviously because of the pandemic this year, all of them were library based. No one was able to do any laboratory work. The projects, they're normally, you get a long list of all of the different projects available, and then you choose based on your preference, and people get assigned projects based on their grades from the end of third year. So that is the incentive to do well in third year, because the better you do, the higher the chances are that you get your first choice of honours project. Like I said, this year all honours projects were done from home, remotely. I did a literature review and I kind of developed a roadmap for developing drugs that are targeted to a certain subpopulation of cancer cells known as cancer stem cells. And I really loved that project. I spent a lot of time on it for months. It sort of went by faster than I thought. But yes, I still really enjoyed it despite having to do it from home. So normally you'd spend about 8 weeks or 10 weeks in the lab doing all your work, then you do a presentation at the end, and then you have a few weeks to write up your thesis, whereas then this year we kind of spent the whole term writing, reading, doing our literature research, and then we just did a 10-minute presentation at the end before handing in our final thesis in April. And then what happens is we have a 3 to 4 week break in which to study for our final exams. So there's 5 final exams for all medical science students. You have 3 exams that are your course exams, so those would have been everything you did before Christmas. Those 3 courses are examined in the exam session or the exam diet at the end of April / beginning of May. So I had those 3 course exams, and then you have 2 other exams. One is a data analysis paper, so that one you can't really study for. It's very much you get the paper and you get a load of data and you have to look at them and maybe describe the results and put them into a broader scientific context. And then the final exam is called the general essay paper, so you get a choice of about 30 different essay questions and you have to answer one of them. And they're very broad, so it might be, I don't know, sodium is the most important ion in the body, discuss, and then you can write all kinds of stuff on that. Or it's like, what do you think is the most important molecule in the body? Discuss. Will there ever be a cure for cancer? Discuss. So it's very broad, and people from all over, from any kind of discipline, may be able to answer the question in a different way. So that's kind of a fun sort of paper to end with. And yeah, that is the end of fourth year. So fourth year is intense. All of the exams are at the end, which is a little bit annoying, but it does kind of help to have the knowledge from your honours projects to put into those final exams. But yeah, fourth year is long and difficult, but it's all worth it in the end. So that's it. That is 4 years of studying biomedical sciences at the University of Aberdeen. I really hope you found this interesting and helpful. If you're studying here, maybe it'll give you a rough overview of what to expect in each of your 4 years here, and also if you've not yet decided to come here, maybe it's helped sort of make that decision for you. I've thoroughly enjoyed my 4 years here. I can really highly recommend the university and also my course, and I can't believe how quickly time has flown by. I can't actually believe I've already been here for 4 years and I'm finished now. So yeah, as always, if you have any questions about studying here, either studying a biomedical sciences degree or just studying in Aberdeen in general, please just leave a comment under the video and I will do my best to answer any of the questions you may have. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I hopefully might see you in Aberdeen soon.